Unlike many great players around the world, Clint Dempsey didn't take the path of playing for a professional academy or signing for a club at a young age. The American legend came through the U.S. college soccer system, spending 3 years at the small school of Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina, further proving the point that Micah Richards does not know where he's from. Dog.
You don't know where I'm from, dog.
It was the New England Revolution that selected Clint Dempsey in the 2004 MLS SuperDraft, and they got more than they ever could have asked for. But in that 2004 SuperDraft, Dempsey was overlooked, being taken 8th overall. So who even are these 7 players that were taken before Dempsey? Clarence Goodson was taken with the 7th pick of the 2004 MLS SuperDraft, 1 pick before Clint Dempsey, by the Dallas Burn, who would shortly rebrand to FC Dallas like we know him today. Fresh out of Maryland, the center back played just 5 matches in his rookie season, but got a lot of experience in the Open Cup. It was in his 2nd season at Dallas that Goodson earned a starting role, one in which he would serve for 3 straight seasons, and after that 2007 season with Dallas, Goodson signed with the Norwegian club IK Start, where he would play for 3 years. In his first year with the club, they were relegated to the 2nd tier of Norwegian football, but battled back and were promoted in the 2008 season. And it was in 2008 that Clarence Goodson would make his debut for the US men's national team in a friendly against Sweden. A debut that went well because it earned him a spot in the 2009 Gold Cup roster. In fact, the biggest moments in Goodson's career came with the national team. The biggest of those being Goodson's call-up for the 2010 World Cup. Although he didn't make any appearances in South Africa, he was a part of the team that tied England and got out of that group, eventually losing in the round of 16 to Ghana. Following the World Cup, Goodson earned a move to Danish Superliga club Brøndby, where he would play 2 seasons before returning to MLS. In 2013, Goodson was a part of the US squad that won the Gold Cup, giving him his first piece of silverware in his professional career. And that following year, he made the initial 30-man roster to go to Brazil for the World Cup, but he never made the 23-man squad that flew to Brazil. So Clarence Goodson finished his career with the San Jose Earthquakes in 2016. With their other first-round pick, the Dallas Burn selected a Honduran attacking midfielder out of SMU, Ramon Nunez. And in his first year, Nunez saw the field just 8 times for the Burn, but settled in his 2nd year, scoring 5 goals. After a similar year 3 in Dallas, Nunez would begin a journey that would see him play for 6 clubs in the next 3 years. And the last of those 6, he made a move to Leeds United in the Championship, where he would settle for the next couple seasons. And the biggest game of Nunez's career was when he came on as a substitute against Manchester United in the League Cup, missing a great chance while trailing 3-0.
Provide a goal for Leeds United at the death? The answer is no.
However, his time at Leeds would end in 2013, and it was back to jumping from club to club. Ramon Nunez's career was riddled with short stints at clubs where he never really settled in, and ironically, it was his first 3 seasons at FC Dallas that would prove to be his best statistically. He certainly never had the kind of presence that Clint Dempsey had, but maybe he would have made more of a name for himself if he stayed in Major League Soccer. With the pick that came 3 before Dempsey, the San Jose Earthquakes took Ryan Cochrane out of Santa Clara. The center back made an impact in his first season with the Quakes, making 18 starts, but in 2006, the team relocated to Houston, and he was now a part of the Houston Dynamo. It was in that 2006 season that Cochrane had a major year with the club. The Dynamo had an impressive run in the playoffs, making it all the way to the final against the New England Revolution. And Cochrane played 102 of the 120 minutes in the game as his team won on penalties to take the MLS Cup. And 2007 was no different. The Dynamo won back-to-back MLS Cups, and Cochrane played a full 90 minutes in this game, winning his 2nd MLS Cup in just 4 years in the league. But the following year, Cochrane was left unprotected in the MLS expansion draft as the San Jose Earthquakes rejoined the league, and he went back to San Jose. And sadly for Cochrane, the prime of his career was behind him, as he bounced back to Houston a couple of years later, but struggled to ever earn a starting role. He played 1 final season in MLS in 2011, where he made 19 starts for the New England Revolution, but wasn't given another contract past that, so he went to play in the NASL in 2012 before retiring. After an impressive final season at UCLA, the Kansas City Wizards traded up to pick Matt Taylor with the 4th overall pick. Despite being a striker behind some of Kansas City's best talent in his rookie season, he managed to score 3 goals exclusively as a substitute. So as things were looking up for him after a strong rookie season in Kansas City, the Wizards left him unprotected in the 2004 expansion draft. So Chivas USA pounced and took him 8th overall. And sadly for him, injuries hampered his time in LA, but in his limited time, he was able to score a couple goals. And right after fully recovering from injury, Matt Taylor decided to leave the club and head to Portland, but that didn't work out too well, and he left MLS altogether. The following year, Matt Taylor joined German 2nd Division side TuS Koblenz, where he would play for a season, and that was where he really started moving in the right direction in his career. He scored 7 goals in 22 games in the 08-09 season before heading to FSV Frankfurt for a short stint. But things didn't go so well there, so he dropped to the 3rd division of German football, playing for Rot-Weiß Aalen, where he'd score 17 goals in 30 games. So he proved he could do it in the 3rd division, so another 2nd division side decided to take a chance on him. It was Paderborn, and in that season he would score 4 goals, and they would finish 5th in the German 2nd division, missing out on a chance at promotion by just 1 point. Matt Taylor then went back to the German 3rd division, where he would play for Preußen Münster for 2 seasons, just missing out on promotion both of those years. Although he was scoring goals at a solid rate, at this point his career was nearing an end. He joined German 4th division side FC Saarbrücken for 2 seasons, where once again he narrowly missed out on promotion, and his career ended in 2017 after a final season with 4th division rival Kickers Offenbach. The 3rd overall pick of the draft was in the hands of the LA Galaxy, and they went with Joseph Ngwenya out of Coastal Carolina. And this seemed like a no doubt. And straight out of college, he made an impact, playing both up front and in the midfield. He scored 4 goals in his first season, playing mostly off the bench. And in his second year, his LA Galaxy won the MLS Cup. But he played a very limited role because of injury. After that season, he was traded to the Columbus Crew, where he would play 20 games and score 5 goals in the 2006 season. So after a little success in MLS, Ngwenya looked to go play in Europe, where he had a trial with Getafe, but he didn't make the cut. So upon coming back to Major League Soccer, he was traded to the Houston Dynamo, where he would have his biggest breakout of his career. So alongside his teammate Ryan Cochrane from earlier on the draft list, the Houston Dynamo went to the 2007 MLS Cup. And after Taylor Twellman scored the go-ahead goal for the New England Revolution in that cup final, Ngwenya scored the equalizer for the Dynamo. And that would set up for Houston to win the match 2-1 and win the MLS Cup final. So following the peak of his career, Ngwenya decided to give it another go in Europe, this time with Austrian club Austria Karten. However, the club quickly dissolved after he joined, so he was given a chance to train with Bayern Munich for 3 weeks, where he appeared on the unofficial squad of the German Super Cup against Borussia Dortmund. But he didn't make the cut at Bayern, so he joined Turkish club Antalyaspor. Without doing much there, he returned to MLS in 2010, but his career was on the decline. In 2012, he was without a club, but he joined the Richmond Kickers in USL in 2013 and played a final season with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds in 2014. With the 2nd pick of the 2004 MLS SuperDraft, the Columbus Crew selected MLS legend Chad Marshall. In one of my previous videos, I determined Chad Marshall was the greatest player of all time for the Columbus Crew, and here's why. Alongside 2004 MLS Defender of the Year Robin Fraser, Chad Marshall helped lock down the back line, leading to an 18-game unbeaten run in his rookie season. The Crew won the Supporters' Shield that year, and Marshall finished in a close second for MLS Rookie of the Year, behind a familiar face. Now, the next 2 years weren't quite as fun for Chad Marshall, as his center back pairing Robin Fraser was nearing the end of his career in 2005, leading to a last-place finish in the East. 2006 got even worse as Fraser had retired, and the team finished dead last in Major League Soccer. And the year 2007 was rock bottom for Chad Marshall, as he struggled with concussion issues and didn't really play any minutes. It almost looked like his career was going to come to an end because of his concussion. So how can he be the best player for the Crew? Well, in 2008, he came back even stronger. He had his best season with the team, and they turned a corner. Chad Marshall's Crew won both the Supporters' Shield and the MLS Cup in 2008, with Marshall scoring the game-winning goal in that 08 MLS Cup.
Marshall came flying
Marshall followed in the footsteps of Robin Fraser and was the MLS Defender of the Year in 08, following his astounding year with the club. And after that season with the Crew, his contract was up, so he decided to give it a go in Europe. He trialed with German second division team Mainz. However, he saw the writing on the wall and he knew he wasn't going to make it, so he was welcomed back for the 2009 season to the Columbus Crew. And that 09 season saw no drop-off in talent from Chad Marshall as he went back-to-back MLS Defender of the Year. And the Crew won the Supporter Shield on top of that. And in 2011, Chad Marshall was named the captain of the Crew. But 2 years later, he was traded to the Seattle Sounders. And who was his new teammate? Clint Dempsey. The two played vital roles in leading the Sounders to a Supporter Shield in 2014, and Marshall won his third MLS Defender of the Year title that season. And in 2016, the Sounders were without Dempsey for most of the year, but Marshall led the team to winning their first ever MLS Cup. Now, sadly for Chad Marshall, in 2019, he had to call it quits as he got injured in May and decided to retire. But his Seattle Sounders went on to win MLS Cup that year, so he still got a ring. With the first pick of the 2004 MLS SuperDraft, DC United was given special arrangements to sign the biggest name in American soccer at the time, Freddy Adu. This man had one of the most interesting stories in all of the soccer world, and HITC7s did a great video about just his career because it's wild. The 14-year-old was being scouted by teams all over Europe, and many wanted to get him in their academy. But with MLS allowing him to play in the first team at such a young age and play for his hometown club, he decided to stay in the United States. In his first season at just 14 years old, he made 30 appearances, scoring 5 goals. However, sadly, the story doesn't go so well for him. Unfortunately for Adu, the next 2 seasons saw a decline in goals, even with more appearances, and he made a move to Real Salt Lake. With claims saying Adu was lazy and that he thought he deserved more playing time, it was hard for coaches to fit him in the right spot. But it's hard to blame him when everyone was saying he was the next Pele. It was comparisons like that stunted his growth, and he really struggled at RSL before making a really promising move to Benfica, a club known for developing young talent. However, he was unhappy with the minutes he was getting behind Angel Di Maria at Benfica, and he made a number of moves to different clubs in Europe before heading back to MLS. And Adu looked like he was possibly getting his feet back underneath him, scoring 5 goals in 24 games in that 2012 season. But once again, it was Adu's expectations that got the better of him, and he was out the door, heading to Brazilian club Bahia and other clubs in Europe to make a handful of appearances. In 2015, at the age of just 26, the age when most players are breaking into the first team and breaking out in their career, Freddy Adu's career was coming to an end. He came back to the US to play for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, who were then in the NASL, and then he was released after just 13 appearances. He spent 2 years without a club before joining the Las Vegas Lights in USL, but once again, he was released. Adu gave it one last go in 2021 and signed with Swedish 3rd division club Österlen, but he never actually made an official appearance. Adu was one of the United States' most interesting stories, and it was for the national team that he actually saw a little bit of success. In 2011, in the Gold Cup, despite not playing any matches up to that point, he came in as a sub in the semifinal against Panama. Adu would play a pass that would lead to the assist for Clint Dempsey's goal that sent the US to the final.
The US has scored! Clint Dempsey!
But despite losing the Gold Cup final 4-2 to Mexico, Adu played a part in both those goals in the final. Although his career never fully took off like people thought it would, Freddy Adu was a name synonymous with American soccer, and the eyes he brought to MLS likely kept the league afloat when it was at its lowest point. Those 7 players were taken before Clint Dempsey, who was arguably the best player in American soccer history with impressive stints in MLS and the Premier League. Dempsey was certainly the best performer out of the 2004 MLS SuperDraft, but the stories of the 7 players before him are still interesting.